Hello everyone and welcome to this YouTube video from Canal Radio UK. We have a very special guest in the studio today, and this man and his small group of colleagues have got together as a team, and they're going to be paddling kayaks 280 miles from Liverpool to London. That's correct, you heard right. From Liverpool to London, 280 miles in a kayak down the canals. The journey will take them along the Trent and Mersey, onto the Coventry Canal, and then down the Oxford Canal, eventually onto the River Thames, and they will be finishing up in London. So why are they doing this crazy feat, you ask? Well, let's find out. Canal Radio is proud to welcome to the studio Sergeant Ed Mackenzie, who is a serving British soldier and has been for the past 24 years. Sergeant Ed, a big welcome to Canal Radio UK, and thanks for taking the time out to chat with us today. How are you?
I'm great, thanks very much. And thank you very much for having me, and thank you for all your support. And those listeners all out there listening into this, thank you very much to everyone there too.
So, you and a small team of soldiers and veterans are on a mission to raise funds, from what we understand, for suicide awareness amongst servicemen and women after their tour of duty with the British military, and ultimately to build a memorial statue for those soldiers who have succumbed to suicide. Can you tell us a bit more of what this mission's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when you die in service, you're automatically remembered at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire, or in a regimental one. So basically what we're doing here is for everyone who is ex-service, i.e. a veteran, and they've taken their own life, then the idea is that we put a memorial together for people to sit down and remember their loved ones all in one place, again at the National Memorial Arboretum at Staffordshire.
That sounds like quite a project. Is there plans already made for the actual, for a monument, or have you got an idea of what that's going to look like?
We've got a couple of sculptors looking at ideas on how it should be, because we want it to be different from everything else that's already there, and it's come up with a unique spin on it. There are loads of things that we can do, but we want something that people can be proud of what it looks like. So yeah, we've got a few sculptors looking at things, and the application's in. We've got a committee for the NMA looking into it. We just need to get a concrete plan of what it looks like before we actually go about it.
Yeah, and that's obviously the main reason for this fundraiser, that you've got this crazy journey planned ahead of you. So, as we discussed offline before this interview, I've been in the military myself. I served for 5 years between 75 and 1980. And from what I can gather, it's a similar circumstance right throughout the world. I mean, military personnel who are prone to suicide post tour of their duty, etc., you know, it's a phenomenal experience by veterans all over the world. So what prompted you personally to want to do this?
You know what, Pete, you're absolutely right. I mean, PTSD, or PTSI as we'd like to call it, because it's more of an injury than a disorder, it stems back so far. I mean, you know, you talk about in the 80s, but actually it was a shell shock. But PTSD is just a modern term for it. It's been around forever. I suppose what prompted it for me is I've lost a lot of friends, especially in the last 18 months. But I would say a couple of weeks before I started this project, you know, I'd lost another friend, and it went all over Facebook, and people were thinking, why has no one done anything? I was like, right, that's it, I've had enough. So me and one of the guys that's actually on the team came up with all these crazy ideas, like kayaking from Edinburgh to London, and then luckily we settled on Liverpool to London instead. But yeah, I mean, it's still crazy, but we think that it's about time. You know, there's lots of things that have finally been accepted, and I think that veterans need to be remembered in the same way that if we had paid the ultimate price in service.
No, I agree with you. And as you mentioned, many years ago, I mean, when I did my military service in Rhodesia, we had a place called Sangha Lodge, and a lot of friends went to Sanger Lodge for rehabilitation, and it was sort of a combination of people that were injured through mines and explosives and stuff like that, that possibly missing limbs. But at the same time, there were other people there with psychological issues. And, in those days, we were like 18, 19, 20 years old. And you don't, you're full of adrenaline about being a soldier and that. And then you hear of somebody going to Sanger Lodge because they're flipping it a bit, and you don't understand why. And that was way back then. And it just shows you stuff like that has been with us for hundreds of years potentially. And people die from this. People disappear. And there doesn't seem to be a lot happening that I can see anyway, from my trips around the world and where I've located myself, that actually help these people. So big respect to you for you should be commended for actually putting a project like this together. And so tell us about your team, who they are, and why them specifically. I mean, you've obviously, are they just friends, or is it people that you've chosen specifically for this event?
Well, yeah, so like I said, I mean, two of us came up with the idea. So we both had served together in the infantry with the Highlanders, and then third member who, so Dave Wood, he's on the team. He's also Highlander. We served together again. I think we both did Afghan together. So he's keen to get on it. He quite likes kayaking. And they all believe in the same goal. John Greaves, I've known him for a couple of years. We were both very keen skiers. We're both ski instructors, so we see each other every winter. Again, he's very keen into it. He loves his adventure training. And then basically the other three, I come across through veteran charities. Lou, Craig, and Sean all work for Bridgedale Veteran Charity for Wellbeing. They all used to serve. They've also lost friends along the way. Lou was medical regiment. She did 24 years. Craig was in the paratroopers, and Sean was in the Marines. So good mix. But essentially, we've all lost friends, and we all want to strive towards the same goal.
Oh, that's awesome. I've seen a couple of the posts that you've put out on your blog already, which will give the listeners an indication of where to go for that a little bit later on. That you're starting to get your act together and getting some traction on your training, etc. Because I would imagine you're going to have to be fairly fit for this one.
Yeah.
So, according to your blog, you've already raised £1,000, and your fundraising goal is £10,000, which I'm sure if it goes higher than that, it'll be even better for you. Tell us a bit more about what that money is going towards and how people can donate.
Well, so that's it. So the money will basically go towards the build, the upkeep, and the application process for the memorial itself. Yes, we've raised 1,150 as of this afternoon.
Excellent.
Yes, we have £10,000 as a budget, but I would like us to see so much more than that. But everyone can donate either through Just Giving page or through the web page that you very kindly put out to everyone. And then there'll be a series of QR codes that will take you to our page as well. So yeah, the more money raised will be the grander the statue of the memorial, which is what I'm aiming for.
Well, that's great. So the way we understand it, you need £10,000 to make this happen. But if people do donate more, that basically gives the plan a better completion.
Yeah,
it finalises it even better. So that's great. Two-part question now. So this is all being planned for April 2021, which sits nicely in the British springtime, and obviously activities along the canals are starting to warm up a bit. First question, do you have any confirmed dates yet? And how can people follow your progress leading up to that event? And secondly, what do you have planned, if anything, for the launch in Liverpool and how can people follow your journey along on a daily basis? And are you going to meet people? Can people come down and meet you? I know we've got the COVID situation, something we haven't mentioned in this interview so far, and hopefully it won't be a problem in a few months' time, but yeah, it's something that we have to keep in the back of our minds. So, yeah, long question there. So, first of all, the dates, etc., and what have you got planned for the launch in Liverpool?
So, the launch in Liverpool is actually going to be from Preston Brook. This is on a safety basis. We can't travel across the Manchester shipping canal, so we're going to start in Preston Brook Marina, which is still in the Liverpool area. The idea is to start on the 1st of April. Yes, it's April Fool's Day.
And people, this is not a joke. This is a genuine thing. It is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I hope to have lots of supporters and press and everyone to shove us on our way as such. You can subscribe to the blog and the page, and then every time we do something, it goes out to the blog, whether it be training beforehand or anything that happens beforehand, it can go out to the blog. And when you subscribe, you then get an email of what's changed onto that. Also, there's going to be a live tracker attached to the page as well. So if you keep an eye on the page, you'll be able to find out where we are exactly as we go down. We were talking offline about where we're going to stop at the end of each day, how far we're going to go each day. So we're going to have our planned stops, which our support vehicle will hopefully put up a tent and a bit of a gathering at certain locations. But obviously, we're wanting as much support as possible. So we'll be stopping along the way where COVID allows and seeing well wishers and enjoying the support that we're getting.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned something there. You're obviously a team of 6 kayaks?
So we're going to have 4 kayaks, but we're only going to have 3 in the water at any one time.
Okay, awesome. And your support crew. Tell us a bit about what the support crew is about and what their job is.
So we're going to have a support vehicle, which will be a VW van, kind of camper van type thing, and we're going to have a mountain bike. So the mountain bike itself will be carrying emergency rations, emergency first aid, and will be a go-between or the radio between us and the support vehicle. We want to carry as little amount of kit as possible, so between the bike and the vehicle, they're going to carry everything else. The vehicle itself will carry tents, spare clothes, all that kind of stuff. We'll probably have a few army rations on board. And then when we get to the end of each day, then they'll be there to help us put up tents or a little gazebo or something. So, and also, to be honest, if we're taking donation buckets with us, we don't want to weigh down our kayaks with lots of loose coins. So that's where support vehicle and support bike will come into its own.
Yeah, absolutely. So your evening stops, you're roughing it basically. You're going to be camping most of the time? Yeah,
I think there's only the odd occasion that we're looking at booking ourselves into a nice comfortable bed, but leaving the boats all locked up in a safe location.
Okay. Now that's cool, because Canal Radio, on our side, what we're going to be doing is we'll be following your activity. We will be one of those watchers on your website, watching your activity, and we'll make sure that a broadcast goes out each day, probably around about midday, stating where you are and where people can come and see you and where you sort of plan to be. So listeners from the radio station will be able to get a fairly accurate glance as to where you are. Probably the best thing for them in the end of it is to go to your website and following you via GPS system, I would imagine. Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, final question. Once you've got the memorial erected at the NMA and the project's over, what's next for you and the team? Going to do a canal crossing or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd quite like to get the 280 miles out of the way first. I mean, that's quite daunting in itself. Especially as none of us are professional kayakers, we're all sort of soldiers. at the end of the day. I don't know, actually. I mean, if we don't hit the target, then of course I'm going to keep fundraising. But actually, more importantly, my support for towards other veteran charities will continue. And I think, so for example, Breakfast Club. So the Armed Forces Veterans Breakfast Club.
Yep.
They're huge in this, and I started going to them recently, and it's brilliant. It's just a place for veterans to have breakfast all together and chat. And so they're supporting me on this. Supporting wounded veterans, it's a charity that I've helped and worked with in the past. Great for veterans getting into employment. So two brilliant charities. I'll continue working with them.
Yes.
And actually, more importantly, veterans in the local community, because I think that's, you've got to start with the ground and build up. You've got to start in your local community. And also, like you said at the beginning of the interview, we need to spread awareness. Awareness is key. So I'll continue my support towards veteran charities, continue my awareness, hopefully continue to come up with more donations to build a grander statue. But also, I think, this has taken me 4 months to plan 280 miles kayaking. I think you'll agree. I'll be mad if I just jump back into a kayak and do the thing all over again.
Well, that was going to be my next thing. So when you get to the end, is it a pint of beer and turn around and let's go back?
Well, I think if there's a pint of beer, I think that there will have to be a very long straw, because I don't think any of us will be able to move our arms for a while.
That's brilliant. Okay, let's wind it up. In closing, thanks so much for coming onto our radio station, Ed, and giving our listeners a sneak preview into this awesome fundraising event for suicide awareness. And on behalf of myself, the station, and our listeners, we wish you and the team the very best of luck for the event, and that we hope you reach your fundraising target and more. And please come back and speak to us again if you can before the event and probably after the event, and we'll probably catch up again and see how it all goes.
Well, thanks very much, and thanks to everyone that you've reached out to us for. That you've passed us on to. I love talking to you. Even by emails the last week. I certainly hope that we'll continue to talk.
Oh, for sure.
And it's an incredible opportunity, and more importantly, we want to enjoy it as well. So, if any of your listeners would like to offer us a cup of coffee or a beer on the way past, we'll be more than happy to accept. I just really hope that we get loads of support, people wishing us along from both canal boats and from the shores. Well, absolutely brilliant.
What we're planning to do as a radio station, we have quite a large database of contacts of people and companies that we deal with along the canals. So as a radio station, we will be contacting our contacts down the Trent and Mersey, Coventry and Oxford canals. We have a large listener base down there, and we will be contacting businesses, we'll be contacting pubs, marinas and everyone down there in advance, and hopefully we will get posters put up at those locations so that local people, as they're coming and going from the various villages, and there's obviously thousands of villages dotted along those canals, to get the word out, and hopefully you will have, COVID allowing, a lot of people along the canals waving at you and tossing coins into your collection boxes.
I certainly hope so, and thank you very much for having me.
No problem. I'll just repeat that address again, Ed. For the listeners, if you didn't catch it in the beginning of the interview, Ed's website is Elysium Memorial, and you can find that at www.elysiummemorial, elysiummemorial.co.uk. That'll give you all the information you need to know about the event, and don't forget to press the donate button on that website and give generously towards us. They've got 1,150 as of today, which is the 27th of November, and hopefully they will reach their target before the event. But if they don't, we would love you to still go to that website and give generously. Otherwise, you can go to Canal Radio UK. We will have a page on our own website for this specific project, and that will tie you up with all the information that you need to go and donate for this project as well. So thanks, Ed. Good luck, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pete.
Cheers, buddy.